easy way to make liners for all of my vintage pottery and planters using my vacuum sealer. It opens up a whole world of possibilities for any kind of planter, whether it has a drainage hole in it or not. Today I'm going to show you 3 different shapes: rectangular, round, and triangular. The round inserts are extremely easy to make. We need our vacuum sealer, we need Gorilla Tape, duct tape would probably work, a marker, scissors, something to measure with, of course a vacuum seal bag. This is cut off of a roll. And then for our container, we need something that's really close to the size of what it is. First thing that we're going to do is measure our depth. Then we need to add the distance across the inside edge is 4.5. So I'm going to add about 2.5 inches to the length. Then we take our round piece and we put our bag over top. And what we want to do is measure around here. And I'm just going to fold this back a little bit. And then I'm just going to make a couple of marks of where it meets. And then I'm simply going to seal this. We want to place the marks that we made, we want to place them right on the edge of the seal strip. And I'm going to use my scissors to hold it in place so it doesn't move. Lock it, seal it. Now we're going to trim this off. I'm also going to trim off this excess on the other side where it was already sealed. Make sure not to cut it open. We're going to put it back on our container. We're going to fold part of it over to make sure we get to the middle. And then we're going to just start forming a bottom by folding in the edges. We are going to tape it with the Gorilla Tape. We want to burnish it so we make sure that it's really on there well. Take it back off. We're going to flip it inside out. We're going to put it back on our container. And we are going to put a nice sized piece of Gorilla Tape on the bottom. Pull it off. Do a test. It's like perfect, almost. So I still want to trim it down a little bit. So I'm going to just come around and mark on the inside where I think I want to cut it with just some dots. I'm coming down to this ledge here. I don't want it sticking up over this side. Now what we can do also at this point is we could cut some little tabs in here. So we're going to find a spot and we're going to do this just like that. And I'm going to go around and then about halfway you want to put another tab. So we'll cut there. And then finish cutting around. We do not need to put any holes in the bottom because there's going to be enough drainage through the folds in the plastic. The little tabs are there so you can grab a hold of it and pull it up out so you can water. And voila, it's finished. The most easiest ones to make. To make a triangular shaped insert for something like this vase, we just need a small piece of the vacuum seal bag, a marker, scissors, then measuring tape, and a vacuum sealer. The first thing we're going to do is measure. If we want to measure the inside, and it is about 6 inches deep. We also need to measure around here. And that is at 12 inches. So we're going to go in half of that, and we want our width to be 6 inches. So we're going to fold this in half, find our middle. First thing we need to do, though, we need to seal the bottom. So we're going to do that real quick. Hold it with my scissors to keep it in place. Seal. Okay, we found our half, and I think there's about 1 inch in the bottom. I don't need to measure down there. So we're going to... I'm going to go 2 inches because I want to make sure that we have enough room for drainage. So I'm going to mark 1 inch, 2 inches, mark that there. And then the top, we want 6 inches. So we're going to go, here's our, well, 6, 6. And then we are simply going to put this back in the sealer. We are going to line our marks up that we just made on the outside. We want this to seal out here, not in here. Hold it with my scissors. Seal. We're going to turn it around and do the same thing for the other side. We're going to trim off this excess. You do that too. So we're going to do a little test. Always test fit. Okay. So I'm kind of liking that. Now I want to trim the top, and I want to find a spot. I kind of want it to be just about a quarter of an inch below there. Put this back in, and then I'm just going to go in and mark. Well, we can mark on the outside. This isn't going to be exact, but it's going to be kind of close. So before we go cutting it off, we want to cut some tabs. So we're just going to go, and we already have our center line there, so we're just going to go and cut down to where our marks are. And we are going to, I'm going to do this at a slight angle, and then I can fix that if I need to. We can adjust the tab again. Another test fit. And I kind of like that. I want the, okay, so I didn't like that angle, so I'm actually going to angle it down. It kind of looks like a basket now. Test again. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to cut my tabs off a little bit so they're not so tall. And then I'm going to come back in and cut some little notches in the bottom for drainage. And there we have it. I'm going to start by drawing out a little template of the shape that we need to cut out. So this is going to be the inside of the box. Then we have our two short ends, our long sides, like that. Okay, so now I'm going to measure. We're measuring the inside of the box. It looks like we're at 8 1/4. So we'll put 8 1/4, and this is our long measurement. We're going to measure the inside of the short sides, and that is it's just under 3 1/4. So I'm going to make it, I'm going to put 3 1/2, and we'll adjust a little bit when we go to cut it out. Okay, now we need to measure the depth. It's not near as important to get this correct because we can adjust later. We can trim it down later. And let's go with 2 1/2 inches. So that's all of our sides. Now to get our overall size that we need to cut, we'll add 2 1/2, 8 1/4, and 2 1/2, and then we go this way, 3 1/2 plus 2 1/2 plus 2 1/2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 1/2 inches. Okay, and I have a piece cut already, but let's cut it down. Any cutting that we do will be on the inside of the marker line. Otherwise, it will be too big. You want to cut off the marker. Now, if it gets to a spot where you can still see some of the marker and that bothers you, rubbing alcohol will take that off right away. Okay, so now we're going to transfer these numbers to our plastic bag. We're going to start with one of the edges, so we're going to mark 2 1/2 inches. Get that lined up pretty straight. Draw our line. We're going to turn it around and do the same thing. Now we're going to draw a line from corner to corner. This line is going to help us remember to not cut everything off. We don't want to cut the whole corner. We only want to cut part of it. So we're going to cut that. We're going to cut this one. We're going to cut this one. And we're going to cut this one. So there we have our little template. Now we're going to do a test to see how it fits. And just by looking at my numbers, I am off. We're going to push it in. Just do a little test fit. Okay, and it's actually a little bit too long. So I'm going to come back in, and I saw where that line was, so I'm going to draw a line here. And we'll test again. That looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to take it out. Now we're going to do our corners. This is where the tape comes in. The Gorilla Tape is waterproof and super sticky. So it will hold up with our watering. It would help to have these ready ahead of time. We're going to need 4, so I'm going to do that real quick. We're going to do our corners. We're going to line up that line. We're going to pull this side up, wrap it around, and tape it. It's kind of hard for me to do a little bit upside down. in. Slide our box down. Now we want to burnish this tape really well. Okay, let's do a test. Oh, it doesn't fit. So we're going to go back. Let's see, we could stuff it in there. So it's a little tight. And that would work, but I'm going to try to adjust it. So I'm going to pull it back out. And I'm going to undo a corner, trying to save my tape. And it was just a little bit too long, so I'm going to cut this edge a little bit more. I'm kind of glad that happened so I can show you how to adjust it. And then just to make it easier, I'm going to draw that line there. Bring my box back over. And we want to fold it on that line. Test it again. That's really good. So I'm just going to straighten it a little. Since that box wasn't really tight, I am just undoing the tape and pushing these corners in so they're a little more square. Pretty good. Now we're going to go around and trim the top. I want it to be a little bit, about 1/4 of an inch below the top. So I'm going to trim it. Okay, let's test it again. Pretty good. Okay, so now we have our size that we really need. We are going to take the insides down. Final test. Voila. Now, if you want, you could go around and seal these edges, which we will do. If you went down and just used one piece, you wouldn't need to do this. a couple of holes in the bottom. You can just cut little slits. It don't have to be a real hole. We're also going to lose water from the corners.